Hello, everyone. Hello, you guys. Hi. I felt called to jump on today and see how everybody's doing all over the world. I was hoping to just to see where you guys are at, how you guys are holding up. It's good to be here. Happy Saturday, wherever you guys are. Hello. How are you guys doing? It's pretty crazy what's going on in the world right now. It's interesting, as I wait for people to join, it's interesting for me personally, I feel like because this is something that the entire world is going through, right? It's not just one country. It's finally the entire world gets to go through something together. I feel personally that it brings us together as one unified human collective. However, if you look out in the world, you know, the narrative is trying to divide, right? And keep us separate. There's a power that happens when you unify. There's a power that happens when you come together as one human collective, as one human species, right? There's something really magnifying that happens when we come together. One of the reasons that there is a narrative, there has been for quite some time, for hundreds and hundreds of years, there's narratives that tear us apart, keep us divided. And the reason for divide is because it literally disempowers us. It keeps us not only kind of mind controlled, but when you divide a unified field of people, when you divide, you disempower that entire field, right? So you are taking away their power. And then what happens is instead of coming together as one massive electric currency, right? You water it down, and then you have all of these kind of separate human collective groups fighting against each other, which is defeating the entire purpose of what we're going through right now, right? I think it's fascinating that for me, I don't know what you guys are experiencing, but for me personally, my heart continues to open more and more. It's the opposite of what the narrative is trying to do. For me personally, I am feeling so much more love for everyone. Everyone. I don't care what you think, say, do. Like the amount of love that I'm continuing to feel for humanity has never been this high. And I think that is part of what this evolution in human consciousness is all about, because that's literally what we're doing. This is the evolution in your consciousness. This is the evolution in my consciousness. And when you realize that we have been so closed in our hearts, we've been so closed in our perspective, we've been so nummified and zombied out, that we haven't even realized how closed off we've been. It's like mind-blowing to start to realize how we've been as a human collective. And these narratives that we're watching play out in the world, you know, many times I get these emails from all of you about how you're losing your job, or you're losing a lot of things that you used to have, a lot of freedoms. My heart breaks, but at the same time, this is the process of stepping into sovereignty. This is the process of stepping out of enslavement. That's really hard for people to understand. What we're going through has nothing to do with this ridiculous narrative about putting something in your body or not putting something in your body. That's just one narrative that they're using. There's going to be more, right? I said this yesterday. That's just one narrative. It has nothing to do with keeping people healthy, right? It has nothing to do with making sure you don't get sick. It has everything to do with control and freedom. It has everything to do with freedom. Freedom. Choice, right? The ability to choose. It's gone. It's being taken away. And the beautiful, or I'm not going to say beautiful, the really genius way that it's being done is so slow that you don't realize it's happening. And you think that it's for your good, right? You think that what's happening, that it's okay. No, it's okay. You're saving lives, or what's happening is they're using a false narrative to chip away at humans' rights and freedoms and choice, so that eventually 6 months from now, 8 months from now, a year from now, they'll be able to tell you, hey, you can only make this much money every year now. Or, hey, you can't get health insurance unless you do ... Hey, you can't get car insurance unless you do ... Hey, you can't come in and out of this city or this state unless you do ... Right? This is what's coming. This isn't a fear narrative. This is what's unraveling. This is how you take over the entire world. Is you convince them of one narrative because you actually have a much larger narrative ready for them, right? There's a much larger narrative that's going to be coming down the chute, right? And so what this is allowing us to do is to start to unify, is to start to recognize, is to start to come together, is to open our hearts, is to say, wait a second, does this feel good to continue to belittle? Does it feel good to continue to berate people? Does it feel good to continue to tell people what to do? Regardless of how long we've been doing it, for how many years, right? Well, this has been going on for so many years. Okay, and do we continue to perpetuate this, right? Every moment that we're experiencing this shift, every moment is an opportunity to ask yourself, what state of consciousness do I want to participate in? What state of consciousness, right? And the interesting piece about all of this is, and this is human nature, right? It doesn't affect us, so we don't care until it affects us. And I think that is what is one of a sad part about the human collective is, you know, we're listening to what's going on in Australia and here in the United States. And we're like, it's not going to happen in the United States. You know, we're watching what's happening in Italy. We're watching what's happening in Israel. We're watching what's happening in all these countries, people in the United States, right? And we're like, not going to happen. Well, you know, let them handle that over there. It's like, no, you don't understand. It's absolutely going to be rolled out in the United States. You got to keep your eyes open. You know, it is going to roll out. And so what we want to be doing is we want to be aware. We want to understand that we have the ability, right? We have the ability to navigate this with eyes open, watching it, feeling everything, choosing over and over again, right? Understanding that if you are backed up against a wall, right, and you have to do whatever you have to do in order to survive, right, that you do that. And it's almost like we're all in one big playground. And the best thing that we can be doing right now is supporting each other. That's the best thing that we can be doing. How can I help you? Do you just need an ear to listen, for somebody to listen to you? You know, do you want some advice? What do you need? What does humanity need from you? Instead of you're doing it wrong, you're doing it right. You need to be doing it like this. You need to be doing it like this. You're an anti this. You're a pro this. You're a Republican. You're a Democrat. That only perpetuates the divide that keeps us in this enslaved state of being. We need to help our fellow humans by listening to them, by asking questions, right? By hearing their stories. What's going on over there in that side of the world? What's happening? You know, what's happening right now is, it's mind-blowing to me because it's actually happening. So I've known for a very long time, since I was a very young girl, that this was going to unravel. I just had no idea that it was literally going to unravel, that it actually was going to happen. And to watch it happen, and to watch the way all the different humans navigate it, is fascinating. It's like a scientific experiment to me, right? Because when you break out, so everything's energy, right? We're all energy. You're energy, I'm energy. We're just in physicality. So we're in an encased physical form, okay? But it's all energy, and we are standing in an energetic field that is really dark, shadow, dense, low states of consciousness that we're standing in, watching it unravel, right? And we get to choose every moment. You're in charge of your state of consciousness. You're in charge of your state of awareness. You're in charge of you. You're in charge of the choices you make. You're in charge of your thoughts and your beliefs. You're in charge of how you do all of it. You're free. Even in a very, very restrictive country right now, you're still free. You just maybe take all of the normal things that you're used to doing can may be taken from you, right? But you're still free. You're still free in your mind. You're still a creator. You still choose, right? You still get to choose. And the interesting piece about what we're going through right now is human right. We're watching the entire planet's human rights be taken away. Slowly. That's what we're watching. And what it's doing to us is it's making us come inward. It's making us go in. Right? When it gets dark enough out there in the world, you start to go in. And you start to say, wait a second, how am I going to navigate this if everything that I've ever known is starting to be taken from me? How do I navigate it? How do I navigate the fear, the anxiety, the stress, the worry, the separation, the loneliness? How do I navigate it? You have to go in. You have to go inward. And that's evolution. That's the evolution in your human consciousness. Is that you begin to detach from the external world. Meaning you realize that the external world was, and will never give you what you have been programmed to believe that it can give you, which is safety, freedom, peace, joy, love, all of that. And the more that we can come inward and say, wait a second, do I have what I need to survive within me? Can I teach this to my children? Can I teach this to my partners? Do I have what I need within me? And then you start realizing, holy shit, I am a rock star superstar in here. I'm a force to be reckoned with. I am more powerful than I ever realized. I am more empowered than I ever realized. I have more control in here than I ever realized. I have a voice. I have a resonance. I have a knowingness. All of a sudden you become the lion or the lioness that you incarnated to be. But the only way that you really start to realize that you're the lion and the lioness that is here to literally pull humanity through this is that you start to detach from the external world. All of these things slowly start to peel away from your life. All the things you thought were important, all the things you thought you needed, All the things that made you feel like this beautiful, fat, magnificent human is pulled away from you. Your titles, your finances, your relationships, all these things that we thought made us who we were is not who we are. It's not why we incarnated. Right? Most of you here listening to this incarnated in order to activate that blueprint within you to pull humanity through this. And what we're in right now is literally just the beginning. It's just the beginning. There are years and years of this. And so if you're just stepping into this, if you're just kind of awakening to, oh my God, what is this? If your whole world is falling apart, right? If you're sitting here every day twiddling your thumbs like, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? I have no drive. I have no desire. I have no friends anymore. My family won't talk to me. I feel like, right? If these things are happening to you, welcome to the evolution in human consciousness. Welcome to your evolution. This moment in human history, this moment right here, right now, it will be written in the books. If there are books in 30, 40, 50 years, who knows? This will be written. This is written in the stars. This is the moment that so many of us have been waiting for unconsciously. This is it. This is why you're here. And so the more lonely you are, the more isolated you feel, the more that your job is being taken away, family members are maybe not talking to you, friends, you're losing friends left and right, right? You are bored. There's no drive. There's no passion. The reason for these things happening is because you are being guided to come back in here. And this is not an easy place to be. It's lonely, it's quiet, it's silent, it's uncomfortable, it's unfamiliar. But this place right here, this is the only way that we navigate through this. Because if you continue to battle or fight the shadow, meaning I'm going to change that shadow, I'm going to fight against that shadow, I'm going to tell that shadow they're wrong, you are only perpetuating the suffering and struggle. You're only perpetuating the shadow. You literally have to detach from the shadow being the fear, the control, the manipulation, the coercion, the divides, the sides, the segregation. All of this stuff is the shadow. And if you continue to perpetuate it by playing in it, in any way that you're playing in it, it's like you are continuing to jump into that muddy puddle. You're like, how did I jump into that muddy puddle again? I saw it 3 miles down. I saw that it was coming. The next thing you know, you jump into that muddy puddle. You're like, frick, I just got all dirty. Now I got to go wash off. You are learning how to stand in the muddy puddle, but not be impacted by the muddy puddle. Do you remember, you guys, what's that guy's name? Frankel? He was in the concentration camps. What was his name? Give it to me, you guys. Such a great book. Someone's going to give it to me. Viktor, thank you. Okay. Viktor Frankl, right? And I completely forgot he was standing in the darkest shadow, right? He was standing in he was in the concentration camps. Camp 1, right? He was in it. And he wasn't impacted by it. He wasn't impacted by it. You think about all these really powerful leaders, Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King, right? The list goes on and on. These people were standing in the shadow. They were in it. They were in the darkest parts of the world, navigating segregation, divide, hatred, control. All of these things they were in, and they weren't impacted by it. Do you understand? It didn't impact them, and they weren't battling. They weren't battling the shadow. They were empowering the human. They were encouraging the human. They were igniting the fire within the human. That's what they were doing. They were not saying, you're bad, you're wrong, you should be doing this, you should be doing that, don't follow that, don't listen to that. Why are you doing? They didn't do that. None of them did that. They empowered every human. And how were they able to do that? How were they able to stand in the darkest moments of history and inspire and hold so much love that you couldn't help but feel love in the midst of chaos? How were they able to do that? They were sovereign. They were sovereign. And how do you become sovereign? You go in. You go inside of you. You get real quiet. You get real lonely. You get real silent. You feel everything that you're feeling. You detach from your expectations. You detach from any attachment to things. You start realizing that the more that you are attached to things, the more you're going to suffer. So if you're in a shadow collective like we are right now, and you're attached to an outcome, you're going to be in a lot of suffering. You surrender when you're in sovereignty. You speak your truth when you're in sovereignty, right? Think about all these leaders. You bring love, you bring laughter. How many times have you seen Gandhi laughing, right? In the midst of everything that he was looking at. Laughter in the midst of a dark shadow. And what these beautiful, amazing leaders were able to do is they never turned away. They didn't turn their back. They didn't turn their back because it was too dark. They didn't turn their back because people were being murdered for speaking truth. People were being killed because they weren't following the rules. They didn't turn their back and say, oh, no, I can't look. I'm just going to pretend that it's not happening and just hold light. No. They stood right there in the midst of that darkness because they knew they were sovereign. They knew they were safe. Do you understand? They knew they were safe within them. You are safe. Whatever country you're in, you're safe. That's why you're here. You're here to remember that you're safe no matter what they take from you. You're safe from no matter what they say to you. They can't take your sovereignty. They can't take your voice. They can't take your knowingness. And they can't take your choice of how you want to be in every now moment. They can't take these things. And that puts out a resonance or a frequency. It puts out a frequency that shifts the entire human collective. You see, we still believe that that there is some sort of fight that we have to do. Okay, now you are going to be standing up for your rights. You are going to be going to protests and things like that. That's very important, right? Very important. But to be able to, look, again, let's go back to these leaders, right? Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King, even Jesus was a leader. He really wasn't a religious figure. He was a leader. Okay, all of these people, Viktor Frankl, even though he wasn't a leader, he was a leader, right? All of these people, they were able to make massive change in the world without fighting. They didn't fight against anything. And people listened to them. People resonated with them. So if you can remember, remember I did a video about the inverted matrix. I don't know if you saw it or not, but there's the world that we living in is inverted. And what that means is that we've been programmed to live one way when we are innately designed to live another way. Okay, like the inside out t-shirt. The t-shirt's designed to be lived this way. okay? But if you are programmed to believe that the shirt's supposed to be lived inside out with the tag showing, you wouldn't know the difference. You would literally think that a t-shirt is supposed to be worn inside out. That's the matrix we live in. It's inverted. So the way that we think things are supposed to go, it's the opposite. It's the opposite. So when you think that you need to fight against something, when you think that you need to argue, belittle, berate, debate, all of these things, remember that that is a programmed state of being. That's the inverted matrix that you're standing in. You're actually flipping it around and say, oh, it's actually about listening. It's actually about holding compassion and empathy. It's actually about speaking my truth from a detached space. Detached. When you speak your truth detached from an outcome, you're going to have a louder ripple effect. Your ripple effect will be louder. What does that mean? If I'm speaking a truth right now, okay, and when I'm speaking it, I am hoping that all of you that are listening to this live or on the replay are going to be impacted, that you're going to change something, that you're going to have an aha moment, right? That's a restrictive way of being. I'm trying to control it, right? And if that doesn't happen, there's going to be some sort of suffering or struggle. I'm going to be struggling in some way. I'm going to be disappointed. I'm going to be let down, okay? It's restrictive. It's tight. As opposed to, I am freely just speaking right now. Truth. That's it. I'm speaking my truth. I have no attachment to how anyone takes it. I have no attachment to how anyone responds to it. That is expansive. That is the highest vibration that you can hold when you speak. So when you're having an argument with someone and they're trying to prove you wrong or they're trying to convince you of something, right? It's a very restrictive state of being. There's a lot of suffering and struggle. There's a lot of trauma in that person's body, right? They're trying to control you because they're being controlled. So if you're being controlled, you're going to want to control others so that you can feel like you're in control. So from a sovereign state of being, understanding that the most potent and powerful impact you could possibly have is by not controlling anything and having no expectation, you're going to watch this person argue with you. You're going to understand where they're coming from. You're going to see it. You're going to feel it. And then you're just very gently going to speak your truth with no worry whether they get it or not. A lot of us have this idea that we have to change people, that we have to wake people up, that it's our responsibility to wake people up. The only thing that's going to wake people up is massive tsunami jolts of experience, like COVID. At this point, the way that humanity is going to continue to wake up is by new experiences being dropped in their lap that are more intense than the last experience that was dropped in their lap. And if you hold the weight of the world on you because you're supposed to wake all these people up, because you don't want them to go through pain and suffering, because you don't want them to perhaps die, because you don't want them to get sick, because you don't want them to ... that's not your job. Your job is to remember to try to be as sovereign as possible. Again, going back to all these leaders that were beautiful leaders. They didn't try to save people. They didn't try to wake people up. They reminded people of who they were. They reminded humanity of who humanity is. That's what they did. That we have basic human rights. Right? That we are designed to love humanity, not fight humanity, not divide humanity. You know, these leaders, even let's just say Jesus, right? Take away all the religious kind of, you know, just narratives around him. He never tried to wake up a human and say, wake up, wake up, wake up. You're zombified, you're sleeping, you're a sheeple, you're this or that. He honored where they were. He saw where they were. He understood where they were as the human. And then he reminded them. And how did he do that? Because he was an example of what he was teaching. He was an example of what he was teaching. You are here to be an example. You are an example. If you're going around and telling all these people all these things, but you're not actually living it, what's the point? We're here to live it. We're here to be what we are teaching to the world. You know, the best way to teach someone is to show them, not to tell them. The best way to lead humanity into higher states of consciousness and out of fear, greed, manipulation, and mind control, the way to lead humanity into sovereignty, out of enslavement into absolute freedom, is to live it. And is to show it by living it. By leading, you lead by example. And you don't make somebody else wrong. Because they're not doing it the way you are. Again, all of these leaders, they didn't make somebody wrong because they weren't doing it. These humans weren't living the way Gandhi was living or some other beautiful, amazing leader in the world. They didn't make them wrong. You're here to be an example. You're here to practice sovereignty. You're here to understand that if you are about to lose your job, it's okay whatever decision you make. You're here to recognize that you are in a world that is full of divide right now. And you're going to experience that divide. You're going to see that divide. You're going to feel that divide. You're going to taste that divide. You're here to remember that every single day, every single hour, you are choosing where and how you want to play in this collective shadow. What aspects do you want to play in, if any at all? Or do you want to continue to practice sovereignty? You're here to remember that you are not designed to be in a victim state mentality. You can be empowered even if you have to choose something you don't want to have to choose. You can stay in an empowered, sovereign state. This is all a game. This is all an illusion. At the end of the day, when you come out of the body and you're done playing the game, you're going to look down and say, holy cow, I was a rock star. I freaking nailed that life. Right now, you may not say that. Right now, we're in the middle of a massive, uncomfortable shift in collective consciousness. Nothing comfortable about this. Nothing. If you're in it, you see it, you feel it, you understand what we're going through. There's nothing comfortable around this. Let's get real. We're not looking down the road saying, oh my God, this is so awesome. I mean, I am a lot of the time, but a lot of us are not thinking, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. I can't wait. More of my freedoms are going to be taken away. Oh, this is going to be so good. No, we're not doing that. We're like, holy shit, cross my fingers. What's going to come? What are we going to look at? What's coming next, right? That's what we're doing right now. That's what we're doing right now. And the children, the adolescents, if you're a parent, you know, I'm not a parent, so I can't speak as an example of being a parent. But I can say that as a parent, you know, raising a child right now during this evolution, I bow to you and I take my hat off to you, and you know, you deserve so many accolades, because not only are you having to figure out what is best for you, but now you have to figure out what is best for your child or your adolescent. And there is no easy way around that, and the programming that is occurring for children and adolescents right now is 10 times more intense than any programming that we had as a child and an adolescent. It is way more powerful right now, this programming. When we were in school, when we were in grade school, when we were in high school, the programming was there because we were programmed into a lot of ways of being in this world. But it is at a level right now that is unimaginable. And so there needs to be, if you're a parent, understand that your experience as an adolescent isn't even close to their experience. It's very, very different. There is a mind control. When I say programming, it's a mind control. The mind control that is happening right now on this planet is like nothing we have ever seen before. And the ability to control the young ones gives the powers that are kind of controlling all this, it gives them an advantage. It gives them an advantage to start so young, to control them with their minds at such a young age. So, I never really have an answer for parents. If I think if I were a parent, it depends on what your child or your adolescent is experiencing and what they're thinking and feeling and believing. What I will say, do not underestimate your child's ability to understand what's going on. Do not hide things from them. Do not sugarcoat what's happening in the world. Do not ignore, for the sake of your child, what's happening in the world. They are much more intuitive, conscious, and aware than you realize. And if you perpetuate this programmed way of being as a parent, which is, I'm going to protect them, I'm going to hide this information from them, I don't want to hurt them, or I don't want them to be impacted by this. I hate to break it to you, but your child is impacted by it the moment they walk outside now. So the more that you as a parent can discuss what's going on, can be transparent, can be raw, open, vulnerable around all of it at a young age, you may have a better chance of navigating this with your children and adolescents as they grow up than if you played in those old programs of, I'm going to hide this from them. This is too much for them to understand. They won't get this. This is not age appropriate. That needs to all be thrown out the window at this point. Because what you're in right now, you've never been in. We have never been in. So there is no handbook for a parent to navigate these times. And if you try to navigate your parenting based on how you were parented, it's not going to go as easy as you think. So you got to pull out a whole new handbook, and the handbook is in here. It's in here. This is higher states of consciousness. If you think about us living in a higher state of consciousness right now as one human collective, and you've got all these beautiful awakened children in your life, in your house, as an awakened human, as a higher awareness human. So you're not living in fear and control and manipulation and greed and coercion and all of that. You're living in higher states. You would never look at your child and say, they can't handle this. You would never look at your child and say, I'm not going to share this with them. You would look at your child as an equal. You would understand that your job as a parent is to protect them and to make sure that they are safe in the world, but that they would be able to understand this world that you're in. They would be able to understand it. these programmed ways of being of a child doesn't need to know this information. They need to know this information. They need to be given a voice. They need to be given voice. They need to be seen. They need to be heard. They need to know that it is okay, everything they're going through. All of it. At the youngest age as possible. Same for yourself. Same for yourself. You deserve to have a voice. Right? Okay, I think I'm done. Hope this was useful. Maybe I'll pull someone else up real quick. I will post this. I will, I'll save this on my on my Instagram. Anyway, that's my 2 cents right now. I love you guys so much. I'm so grateful to be walking beside all of you. We need to keep coming together, keep unifying, really paying attention to not perpetuating a divide. You know, I still see divide in Instagram, in posts of comments of people arguing and debating and yelling at each other. And it's like, this isn't about that, it's about it's about choice. It's about freedom, It's about allowing humanity to evolve and to start to grow out of these enslaved, mind-controlled, programmed ways of being, and allowing those that are in that state to move, and to allow those that aren't in that state to not move it yet. But please remember, this is a collective human evolution. That's what this is. This is not about whether you are pro or anti. This is not about what side you're on. This is not about whether you put something in your body or not in your body. Because believe me, there will be other narratives beyond that one that are coming. This is about stepping out of states of consciousness that we have been in for a very long time, that have kept us encaged, enslaved, controlled, manipulated, and living an illusion that we have been free, when we have really never truly been free. And so what we are becoming is free, sovereign, unique, free-willed humans. And the only way that happens is that you recognize that you have been enslaved, that you have been mind-controlled, that you have been programmed. And the only way that happens is that you feel it, and you see it, and you watch it, and your jaw drops, and you say, OMG, what is going on? Holy cow. And then you choose. So don't get caught up in the pro and the anti. Get caught up in sovereignty, in heart, in compassion, in empathy, in freedom, in free will, in choice, and in basic human rights. Because for the group of humans right now that don't believe that their rights are being taken away, Give it a couple months. Give it a year or two, because their rights will start to be taken away as well. Because this is a human collective shift, not half a human collective shift, not a third of the human collective shift, not 1/8 of a human collective shift. This is an entire 7 point whatever billion humans that are collectively shifting. Which means that millions and more millions have to see what you and I are seeing right now. And how are they going to see it? Their rights are going to have to be taken away as well. So hang on, put your seatbelt on. This is just the beginning, and there is no fear in that statement. There is empowerment. There is sovereignty. There is a state of knowingness. The lion and lioness in you is ready for this. It's ready. This is why you're here. I love you. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for sitting here live with me. You've got this. I'm telling you, you're good. You're good. Feel everything. Feel it all. Get angry, get rageful, whatever you need to feel. And then remember that this is about your evolution. And you're also human. So you may be losing your job, or you may have to put something in your body you don't want to keep your job. You may have to go through these things. How deeply can you bathe yourself in compassion and empathy? And how much can you bathe the rest of humans in empathy and compassion right now? Maybe you can't. Practice. I promise you, you got this. And I also promise you that we get through this. We get through this and we get out of this. One quick thing, one more thing. When you move a collective through an evolution, when a human collective moves through evolution, it's movement, it's energy. When you evolve as an energetic being, it's constant movement. That's evolution. Your energy is moving constantly into different states, different frequencies, okay? So when you have a large human collective that is moving and evolving, it's going to always move. It doesn't stay. It doesn't get stagnant. It doesn't stop. So we don't stop anywhere along this shadow. We don't stay in a specific way of being. We are constantly going to be moving, which means that inevitably, regardless of what is happening, we get out of this. Imagine the shadow as a tunnel, and we've just entered the tunnel, and we're now in the shadow. Okay? And you're going to do whatever you're going to do while you're in the shadow. You're going to have whatever experiences you're going to have for however many linear years that we're going to have this. But there is the end of the tunnel where we come out, because that's how energy works. It is inevitable that we get through and out of this shadow. Inevitable. But we've got to go through it. And that's the part that we have to surrender to. So remember that. There is an end. Have no attachment or expectation to it. And it's not anytime soon. So let it be. And practice. Practice your states of consciousness in every now moment. Okay? I love you so much. This will be saved.